What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Road Channel, man. Hope y'all having fun. Hope y'all doing good. Today we're doing something new. Today we're starting something new. I want to start something called Scary Friday. I know Corey started the Spooky Scary Sunday thing, but look, it might be the same format, but it's a different puzzle. I want to do my own thing. I ain't trying to copy Curry. I'll salute the Curry though, but nah, man, this is me right here. This is my formula. You feel me? So I want to start. This is gonna be my thing. It's gonna be Scary Friday. So if y'all enjoy it, this is episode one, and let's get it, man. Oh yeah, my fault. I'm doing a reaction video. We're doing three creepy true Christmas Eve horror stories. If y'all like it, man. Yeah, let's get it. All right, sent by unannounced.
When I was around 25, I
That's what
finally moved out of a share house in the
I
suburbs
didn't see right.
and
No,
into
don't
my
mind
own
me. I'm
place,
sorry.
an old, run-down
I
one-bedroom
said
apartment
anonymous.
right in the
I'm
city.
tripping.
It wasn't much to look at, but it was mine, and at the time, it felt like freedom.
Yeah.
The location was perfect. My new
Okay.
apartment was just 500 meters from one of the city's busiest nightlife spots. My friends and I loved to hit up bars and clubs, but all those late-night taxi fares were adding up.
Okay.
Plus, I worked nearby, so moving into this tiny, shitty apartment made a lot
Dang.
of sense. Once I got settled in, I did what any 25-year-old guy would do. I threw a
Which is what?
housewarming.
Excuse me.
I invited a group of friends over for pre-drinks before we went out clubbing.
Okay.
The space was small, so some of us were inside, while others hung out drinking on the walkway just outside my door.
Mm-hmm.
Music was playing. Drinks were flowing. It was exactly the kind of night I'd hoped for.
Yeah, that's kind.
But
Now
between
that's kind of
songs,
creepy.
I noticed something. I could hear
What?
yelling coming from the apartment next door.
Oh,
Now, these
domestic
apartments
violence.
weren't just old, they were thin-walled, the kind where you can hear every little thing.
See, I don't like that.
Curious,
See, hold
I
on.
pressed
Let me pause the video. I'm sorry. I don't like thin walls, bro. Because let's say you got a shirt over. You finna crack some cheeks, right? The whole the whole apartment complex finna hear y'all. So it's like, bro, oh man, I'm just
my ear against the
saying.
wall to
That's what
listen
I
in.
do.
I hadn't met my new neighbors yet. I'd moved in quickly and hadn't seen anyone around, so I wanted to know what I was dealing with. From what I
You in
could
the ghetto
gather,
or something?
it sounded like a couple arguing.
Oh,
Two men, probably in their early 30s.
mm,
One of them was shouting, telling the other to come next door and tell us to keep the noise down. The other was trying to defuse the situation, saying, "It's just a housewarming. Let it go for the night." I didn't want to cause any trouble on my first day, so I rounded up my friends and told everyone we were heading to the clubs. I figured it'd be better to leave my neighbors in peace and avoid any awkward confrontations.
what
Later
happened,
that
boy?
night, I came home alone.
Oh my
I was
god.
exhausted from moving earlier that day,
Oh, that's still so much
so I
blood on
decided to
her.
let my friends keep partying without me. It was around 2 a.m. when I got to my door, fumbling for my keys, when I noticed someone standing nearby.
Oh no.
It was a man, leaning against the walkway railing outside the apartment next door,
Ooh.
smoking a cigarette. He
Was
was
he looking like
tall and
that?
thin, with brown, oily hair. As I glanced at him in the dim light, I noticed something unsettling. He had a cut lip and the remnants of a black eye,
Oh, he got
faded,
beat up.
but still visible. I tried to keep things light. "G'day, mate. Sorry about the noise earlier," I
Where
said,
you from, boy?
figuring he was one of the neighbors.
Oh, that's an eight. You mean
He
or
looked up
something?
at me, his voice soft and cracking a little as he replied, "Nah, you're all right, mate. I'm Chris." He stepped forward to shake my hand.
Ooh, boy, what is up with
As he
these
did,
graphics?
I noticed his knuckles, red, scraped, and swollen. It was like they'd recently been in a fight, or worse. I apologized again,
Yo,
feeling
Chris, what
suddenly
you got going
awkward.
on, bro?
Hope I didn't cause any trouble for you. Chris withdrew his hand and shrugged. Nah, that's okay. Rick just gets a bit cranky sometimes. I'm used to it. Something about the way he said it made my stomach drop. He was trying to play it off like it wasn't a big deal, but the tone of his voice and the look in his eyes told me otherwise. I ended the conversation there, mumbling something about seeing him later. I just wanted to get inside and crash, but as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling I had.
Yeah,
Was Chris being hurt by his partner? Was it domestic abuse? Or had he gotten into a fight with someone else? I didn't know enough to say for sure, so I told myself I'd keep an eye on things.
I was gonna make a joke, but it's
But
not
deep
funny.
down,
I was about to say something.
I already knew something was off about that apartment next door. Over the next few weeks, I started to notice more and more about my neighbors. Almost every night, Chris and Rick would get drunk.
Hold on. I'll tell you what though, nigga. This is a problem. This is a addiction. You see all these bottles, bro? Golly, boy.
It would always end in shouting matches.
I see
Their
why.
arguments were loud, impossible to ignore
That is
with
a
those thin
problem.
walls, and it was obvious that Rick was the dominant one. His voice was deeper, sharper, and whenever he shouted, Chris's voice would shrink, timid and apologetic, like he was afraid. I kept my distance.
So he was getting beat on?
I never socialized with them, and honestly, I tried not to think about what might be going on in that apartment.
Yeah, subscribe to me.
Sometimes I'd hear my own name come up in their fights, with Rick accusing Chris of liking me or watching me. I didn't know how to feel about that, so I just threw on my headphones, turned up my video games, and drowned it out. Between work, my friends, and avoiding bringing people over because of the neighbors, I figured it wasn't my problem. That worked well enough for a while, until Christmas Eve. I'd just gotten home after a chaotic day of last-minute Christmas shopping.
Okay.
My plan was to spend the night wrapping presents, as I'd be visiting my family the next day.
Okay.
I pulled into my building's lot, but something was wrong.
What was
Two
wrong,
police
Chris?
cars were parked outside, their lights flashing red and blue across the dark. I climbed out of my car and immediately saw Anna, an older Asian woman who lived a few doors up from Chris, screaming and crying in the middle of the walkway.
Oh, somebody died.
What happened? I asked her,
Somebody died.
trying to get some kind of explanation. It's just so sad, she sobbed, shaking her head,
sad, Anna. Whatever her
her
name
face
is.
streaked with tears. I looked toward the commotion and saw 3 police officers wrestling with someone on the ground. That's when I noticed the blood. Dark stains on their uniforms, their hands, and on the ground beneath them. I edged a little closer, and that's when I saw him. Chris. His oily brown hair was matted with sweat and blood, and his face. I could barely process what I was seeing.
Man.
His jaw was sliced open,
Oh.
the skin hanging and flapping with every word he
Yo,
muttered.
this is brutal.
It looked like he'd been cut with something sharp, badly. The officers were trying to restrain him, but Chris was struggling, whimpering between sobs, apologizing softly to no one in particular.
Oh,
I stepped back,
he got some
horrified.
problems. He got some demons in him.
Anna's crying grew louder, but before I could comfort her, another voice boomed out of nowhere.
What voice?
You see what you've done? You fucking loser. Just kill yourself.
Oh, whoa,
I
whoa,
froze.
whoa, 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 whoa,
It was Rick's
whoa,
voice.
whoa, 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 whoa. Yo, what is going on with this story, bro? Can I upload this? Yo, oh my God, bro, why is it going in so hard, bro? Oh man, YouTube, please don't take this down, please. Hey, messing up my groove, bro.
Deep,
Golly.
angry, cruel.
Can we
My
all get
eyes
along?
darted around the scene, trying to find him, but he wasn't there. The police were still grappling with Chris on the ground, and Rick's voice just kept ringing out. Something wasn't right. My instincts screamed at me to get Anna and myself to safety. Even with the police there, it was clear they had their hands full, and I wanted no part of a fight that involved knives and blood. But Anna refused to come with me.
Why?
I'll be fine,
What's up with her?
she whispered shakily. I turned back toward my apartment, my heart pounding. But then I heard it again. Where the fuck are you going?
Whoa.
The voice. It was
Nigga,
Rick's
I would have
voice.
said, nigga, who you talking? Oh, I can't be screaming. I would have said, nigga, who you talking to? Like, man, bro, you better show yourself. Shit, you talking to me all crazy. Boy, where you at?
But it was coming from Chris.
Oh, Chris talking
I
like that?
stopped cold, my blood turning to ice.
Ooh,
My brain
killer.
couldn't process what was happening,
Oh, Chris?
couldn't make sense of it.
Look,
Chris
hey.
was the only one there. So why did Rick's voice keep roaring out of him?
Oh, Rick's.
That's when it hit me. All the arguments, all the shouting, the laughter, the drinking. The nights I'd sat with my headphones on, blocking out their chaos, pretending it was just a normal, dysfunctional couple next door. There was no Rick. There was only Chris. The realization sent a wave of nausea through me. Every fight I'd heard, every insult hurled, every accusation shouted into the night. All of it had come from one person. Chris had been fighting with himself, yelling at himself, hurting himself. I turned.
What? Nah, bro, nigga, this ain't no host for nigga. This is PTSD. Like
And
what?
bolted to my apartment,
Yo, he's insane.
locking the door behind me
Where you
and
stay
collapsing
at?
onto my couch.
Oh,
my
this
mind
wasn't in the hood.
spinning.
God, gee.
I couldn't stop picturing his bleeding face. Couldn't unhear Rick's voice pouring out of him in that horrifying, booming rage. A few days later, I learned the truth from Anna. She told me that this wasn't the first time the police had come to take Chris away. Apparently, he struggled with severe mental illness. Whenever things got bad, he'd end up at the local psychiatric hospital.
Who's the landlord? Or why they let a psycho stay here? Hey,
For a few months.
Diesel.
And when he was
Diesel.
discharged, he'd return to the apartment. His father owned the place, so it was always there waiting for him. It made me feel sick to my stomach. I wasn't just living next door to a man who was lonely or troubled. I was living next to someone who was unraveling. Someone whose own mind was his worst enemy.
Boy, thank God he didn't get you.
To this day, I still think about Chris, about Rick, about that night. And I wonder how many people pass by strangers every day, never realizing just how close they are to something broken, something dark, something they can't even begin to understand.
Yeah. Alright, y'all. Hey. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments. Say something. Tell me how you feel about that story, bro. That was crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Live in a small town in the
That's a
Midwest.
psychopath, bro.
It's one of those places that feels safe, almost too safe. Crime here is rare
It's the same guy.
and usually limited to
Who's
traffic
this?
violations and the occasional domestic dispute. With only about 20,000 people,
Okay.
it seemed like I ran into someone I knew, or at least recognized, every time I stepped out.
Small town.
That's why what happened back in 2008 still feels so surreal. I was about to turn 19 that year, and I decided I wanted to have a real birthday party for once. I'd graduated from a private Christian high school the year before, and to be honest, I hadn't partied much at all. My friends weren't into it, and even during my first year at a state university, I kept a pretty low profile. I was just the small-town girl who blended into the crowd.
That's a girl. Oh,
But
boy, I
that
thought it was
year-
a nigga.
Things changed. I dropped out of college. A dumb move, I know. Broken up with my boyfriend, and started hanging out with some new friends who actually did party.
Ooh.
They were always talking about how much fun house parties were, and it
Ooh.
made me curious. So I decided that for my
I don't think that's a
19th
good group
birthday,
of people.
I was going to get drunk for the first time. I had my older friends help me buy alcohol and invite people over. The party went great. My friends loved my house too. It was a 3-bedroom place with an attached garage, which meant there was plenty of room for people to crash and a great spot to play beer pong when we moved my car out. Before long, everyone was begging me to throw parties every weekend. And that's exactly what happened. It was August, and with 3 colleges nearby, it wasn't hard to get people to show up. My house quickly became the place to be.
Oh, Lord,
Every weekend, it was full of people,
every weekend,
some of whom
crazy.
I'd never even met before.
Yeah,
It didn't bother me,
no.
though. One of my friends always claimed responsibility for inviting each new face, and as long as nothing got broken, I was happy to clean up and do it all over again the next week.
Oh, no, you tripping.
These parties were never crazy. There were no drugs, just alcohol, and back then, I thought that made it safe. Then one day in September, I noticed something odd.
What do you
I was
notice?
leaving for work, and as I went to close the garage door, I realized the remote wasn't clipped to the sun visor in my car. At first, I figured it must have fallen off, so I got out and searched under the seats. Nothing. I was annoyed, but didn't think too much of it. Maybe I'd taken it out while I was drunk one night and misplaced it. I used the wall remote to close the garage door, then went through the house to get back to my car and headed to work.
Okay.
That night, during my lunch break, my phone rang. It was a blocked number, just unavailable on the caller ID.
What?
I thought it was one of my friends playing a prank. Back in high school, we did stupid stuff like that all the time, calling each other with blocked numbers, trying to mess around. I answered, ready for a dumb joke or someone talking in a weird accent. But there was nothing. Just
Nobody?
silence.
That's what it
I hung up, a little weirded out, but more annoyed than anything else. I didn't have time to deal with a prank. I just wanted to eat my lunch and finish my shift.
is. Nice, I feel you. I feel you.
Hours
I
later,
love you.
as I was walking to my car after work, my phone rang again. Unavailable. I answered, and once again, silence. Complete,
Why do you keep picking up?
unsettling silence.
Why do you keep picking up?
Now I was starting to get irritated. I thought for sure it had to be one of my friends. I mean, whoever it was seemed to know exactly when I was free to pick up the phone. How else would they know the precise moment I clocked out? I called my friend Lacey and asked if she was messing with me. She swore she wasn't, and even put her boyfriend on the phone to confirm they hadn't been calling me. I didn't really believe her, but I shrugged it off and forgot about it by the time I got home. The next day, I had the day off and slept in.
Okay.
I woke up around 11, grabbed my phone, and wandered into the living room. Almost on cue, my phone rang. It was unavailable again. I
So don't
answered.
pick up.
Silence.
Why do
Calls
you keep
continued
picking up
throughout
the
the
phone?
day. Every time, it was the same. No sound, no voice, just an empty line.
So stop
It was
picking
starting
up
to get
the
under my skin.
phone.
By now, I was also annoyed that I still couldn't find my garage door remote. I spent hours searching my car and the house for it, but eventually, I gave up.
See, this is exactly why you
Assuming
don't
it
let
had fallen
random
out
people come
somewhere.
to your house every weekend.
Fast forward a few weeks, and the calls kept
Come on,
coming.
bro.
Every single day. The most unsettling part was the timing. I never had missed calls. Whoever was doing this only called when they knew I was free.
So
I'd leave
stop
work.
Picking up the phone.
My phone would ring.
You pick it
I'd
up,
wake
huh?
up in the morning. My phone would ring.
And you pick it up.
It was like they were watching me. At first, I still thought it was a prank. But then, things got even stranger.
What happened?
One morning, I decided to stop parking my car in the garage. It was just easier not to deal with opening and closing the door manually without the remote. A few days later, as I was backing out of the driveway to leave for work, I heard a loud scraping sound under my car. I got out to check and found huge tree branches shoved underneath it.
What?
I had no idea how they got there or why. It took me forever to drag them out, but I brushed
Who's
it
your
off as a weird
stalker?
coincidence. Until about a week later, I was in the living room when I heard a loud bang against the front door.
No,
My heart jumped into my throat.
and that's when I'm
I
buying a
opened the
gun.
door cautiously and found a
What?
tree branch, a large one,
Yep, yep, yep.
just
And that same day, I would have went to a gun store, got me a gun. I'm telling you, I would have went outside looking so crazy. Hey, man, I would have me a shotgun. Hey, keep playing around, bro. Look, I'm gonna fool you.
sitting there,
Stop playing with me.
resting
Like,
against the
bro.
door like someone had placed it there.
Like, come on, bro.
That was it for me. I called Lacey in a panic and begged her to let me stay at her house for the night. She agreed, and as I drove over, I felt like I was being watched. That night at Lacey's, my phone rang.
You
Unavailable.
picked up. You
I
picked
didn't
up.
answer.
Thank you.
I was so fed up,
Thank
so
you.
terrified, that I refused to pick up.
Okay,
But
that's
then
good.
something even worse happened.
What happened?
5 seconds later, Lacey's phone rang. She looked at the screen, and her face went pale. It
Don't
said,
pick up.
unavailable.
Don't pick up.
We both just sat there, staring at the phone, too freaked out to do anything. That's when I realized
That's what.
this wasn't just a prank. Someone was watching me. Someone knew my schedule. And now, they had my
How?
friend's number too.
How?
At this point, the phone calls had become my new reality. I was so rattled that I decided to tell one of my managers at work about what was going on.
Mm.
He didn't hesitate. He told me to call the police the next time I got a call, and if I didn't, he would.
Mm.
That was enough to push me to act. I told him I'd call the police as soon as unavailable called again. Sure enough,
So what
like
the?
clockwork,
Hold on.
my phone rang as I walked to my car during my lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
I answered, listening to that same eerie silence for a full minute before hanging up and calling the police. They told me they couldn't trace blocked calls, but that my phone company might be able to. Frustratingly, the phone company gave me the runaround, and despite my best efforts, the police refused to help
That is
further.
exactly. See,
They
that's exactly what I thought would happen. Call the police. Yeah, that's a smart idea. What, block normal? Bro, nigga, if you want to get you a gun, bro, it's something, so you keep it on you. Call the police with a block number. How, nigga, stupid,
did say, however,
stupid.
that because of the branches and strange activity, they'd send someone to patrol my neighborhood for a couple of days to see if they noticed anything suspicious.
No, they didn't. I bet
But
they
nothing
didn't.
changed.
I knew it.
The calls
Ain't no
continued
help.
for another week. At first, I wasn't as scared. I was just angry.
Mm.
I started answering the calls and taunting whoever was on the other end.
Ooh.
I'd call them a coward, ask why they were doing
Piss
this,
them off, huh?
and dare them to say something. Of course, they never did. The silence always held, like whoever it was wanted me to crack first. The police seemed to lose interest after their patrols turned up nothing. When I followed up, they basically apologized for my fear, but said there was nothing they could do. That's when things started escalating.
That's
It
when
began with more
that's when I would have said, I bet it's something is happening or somebody in if I commit a crime or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I would
tree branches, huge
make
ones,
a lot of this, bro.
randomly showing up on my porch,
What is
in my
something?
yard, or underneath my car. Sometimes at night, I'd hear banging noises on the front windows. I didn't feel safe in my room anymore, so I started sleeping on the couch, closer to the front of the house. One night,
Hold on, wait. So if there was banging in the front of the house, in your room, sorry, not in the front of the house, you will sleep on the couch. Will take like on the couch in the living room. So that's usually where the couch is in the living room. To where the front windows is like right there to you. How is that? What? How is that small? That makes you even more target because you can't lock a living room. Like, come on, bro. Like you're just out there.
I was in the
Open.
kitchen pouring a glass of water when my phone rang. Unavailable. It startled me so much that I called Lacey immediately, begging her to come over. She did, but even then, I couldn't understand how this was happening. I never saw anyone following me. I never noticed anyone watching me from afar. Whoever this was, they were close enough to invade my life, but somehow invisible.
Smooth criminal.
The weirdness kept growing. Napkins started showing up inside my screen door. Stacks of blank paper would appear scattered in my grass. There were candy wrappers on the hood of my car. Markers showed up in my mailbox. Whoever was doing this wasn't just strange, they were methodical. By Christmas Eve, I was at my breaking point. I was driving out to my grandpa's farm to spend the holiday with my family when my phone rang. Unavailable. I snapped. I answered, screaming into the phone. "It's Christmas. Just leave me alone. What do you want from me?" My voice cracked, and I started crying, begging them to stop, to let me have one day of peace. But, as always, the other end of the line was dead silent. That night, back at my house, I was asleep on the couch when I woke up to lights in my face. I bolted upright and realized someone was outside, shining multiple flashlights through my windows. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought I'd pass out.
Yeah, that's scary.
I ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and called Lacey, crying and shaking. She drove over.
Hold on. So you ain't think about getting a knife? You ain't think about getting nothing to protect yourself with? You just run to the bathroom. God, I hope you got one of those backwash stuff that's like a stick. You can like, I mean, like, what if they break down the door? How are you gonna defend yourself? Like,
And together we searched the house and yard, but whoever had been out there was gone. The calls continued, but the other strange activity, the branches, the napkins, stopped. I convinced myself that maybe, just maybe, they'd backed off. I started sleeping in my room again. But then, one morning, everything came crashing back. I woke up, walked into my dining room, and noticed something through the window on the kitchen door.
what?
My garage door was open. I'd stopped using it because of the missing remote. So I figured maybe the sensor had glitched, causing it to pop back open. I grabbed the wall remote, closed the door, and poured myself a glass of milk. That's when I saw it. Sitting in the middle of my dining room table, like it had been placed there on purpose, was my missing garage door remote. I froze. My mind couldn't process it. That remote had been missing for months.
Boy,
Someone had been in my house. Someone had been close enough to leave it there. I panicked. I grabbed my keys, still in my pajamas, and ran straight to my car. I called Lacey as I drove aimlessly through town, crying and telling her, "It's time to move. We need to get out of here." Lacey and her boyfriend met me back at the house to check everything out, but there was no one there. The place was empty. That didn't matter. I was done. Within weeks, Lacey and I moved into an apartment in a different city.
Okay.
And just like that, the calls stopped. It was Valentine's Day. Lacey and I decided to have a girls' day and see a movie. He's just not that into you, I think. Before we left, I plugged my phone into a charger in Lacey's kitchen, deciding to leave it behind for once so I could enjoy the movie without distractions. We went out, watched the movie, and walked back to the car. chatting and laughing. And that's when I saw it. Sitting on the ground next to the driver's side door was my phone. I felt my stomach drop.
Oh.
I'd left it charging in Lacey's kitchen. How did it end up here? Neither of us slept that night. We stayed at her boyfriend's house, and when we checked the apartment the next morning, there was no sign of anyone having been inside. That was the last time anything strange happened to me. I never found out who was behind it. No one ever fessed up. My friends swore they would never have let me live in that kind of fear for months, and I believed them. I even asked a couple of the random people I'd met at my house parties if they knew anything. None of them had a clue what I was talking about. To this day, I don't know who it was or what they wanted. All I know is that for 5 months, someone out there was watching me.
5 months is crazy.
And whoever they were, they knew exactly where I was.
Nah, bro. Hey, let me know in the comments, yo.
I've had a handful of creepy experiences in my life,
Golly,
some of which I've shared before. But nothing has scared me as intensely as this. Last week, I was out with a friend of mine, Veronica, who was doing some last-minute Christmas shopping. Everything was normal. Crowded stores, ridiculous lines, the usual holiday chaos. We wandered through aisles, laughing about gift ideas and trying to dodge the slow-moving crowds. Then we hit the candy aisle. Veronica was browsing through chocolates, debating whether to get a box of assorted truffles or a giant bag of mixed candy. I wasn't paying much attention. I was just standing there, my eyes on the floor, lost in my own little world. I didn't even hear anyone approach me. "So, you like chocolate?" The voice jolted me out of my thoughts. At first, I thought the man was talking to Veronica. After all, she was the one staring at the chocolates. But when I looked up, he was looking directly at me, waiting for an answer. Yeah, I stammered. I'm pretty outgoing with people I know, but with strangers, I completely freeze. I never know what to say. The man smiled and stepped closer. Me too. White chocolate's my fave.
Whoa,
Never been
whoa, buddy. Okay, yeah. No, nigga, no. You tripping?
into the dark myself.
Some white chocolate.
His eyes dragged from my feet to my face in a way that made my skin crawl.
He trying to spit
Then
game
he
at
licked
you.
his lips, smiled again, and added, I think you're my new fave. See you later, Toots. He sauntered off into another aisle, like nothing had happened.
That nigga's trying to spit game.
I stood there frozen for a
Oh
moment.
no, that's not. Yo,
glancing
no,
at
that was
Veronica.
creepy. No, bro,
She
you
looked just as
gonna scare all the
confused as
hoes
I
away,
felt.
bro.
Do you
How to
know
speak
him?
game.
She asked. I shook my head. Never seen him before in my life. It was weird, sure, but I brushed it off.
White chocolate, my favorite.
Creepy guys
Up and
exist.
down, like what?
And it was probably just some awkward attempt at flirting.
It was terrible.
Next day, things got weirder.
It's the same
I
guy.
was heading to a local store in my small town. As I pulled into the lot, I saw him. The same guy from the candy aisle,
Dang, boy.
walking out of the
I
store.
don't want to quit.
He didn't seem to notice me,
Why is this
but I didn't want to risk another awkward encounter. So I kept driving and decided to go somewhere else. I headed to a carry-out shop across town to grab a few things. I was only gone for about 20 minutes, tops. When I got home, I parked and started walking up to my front door. That's when I heard it. A car pulling into my driveway. Now I share a driveway with my two neighbors, so I assumed it was one of them.
Okay.
I didn't think much of it until I heard the jingle of the sliding door handle at the back of my house. Once, twice, someone was on my back porch, trying to open the door. My heart started pounding. I didn't want to bend a blind or peek out the door and let them know I was home, so I quietly made my way to the side window. faced the driveway, and I figured I could at least get a look at whoever it was. There, sitting in my driveway, was a blue truck. For a moment, I thought it was just someone who had the wrong house, but then I saw him. The guy from the store. He stepped off my back porch and walked toward his truck, and I finally got a good look at his face through the dim light. It was him. There was no doubt about it.
Oh, no.
I froze, my mind racing. Had he followed me home without me realizing?
That's weird.
Was this some bizarre coincidence? My head was spinning, but eventually, the truck pulled out of the driveway, and I was left standing there, rattled and confused. For the next few hours, I tried to distract myself. I watched TV, scrolled through my phone, anything to calm my nerves. By the time evening rolled around, I thought I was okay. Then I remembered I had a package coming. I'd been waiting for some electronics in the mail, and I didn't want them sitting out in the cold all night.
Facts.
I grabbed my jacket, slipped on my shoes, and headed outside to check the mailbox. It was dark out, and the streets were quiet. I grabbed my mail and started heading back toward the front door when I heard it.
Hold what?
The low hum of a vehicle coming down the street. I didn't think much of it at first. I just kept walking, trying to ignore the knot of unease tightening in my stomach.
That's when I
But then, the car slowed down. I looked up just as the vehicle stopped in front of my house. It was the same blue truck. I started walking faster, practically running for the door. Just as I grabbed the handle, I heard him yelling.
What did he say?
"Hey! I've been looking for you!" I turned around,
Okay.
and there he was, sitting in his truck, window rolled down, staring at me. He smiled. Then he parked his truck in the middle of the street and started getting out.
Oh, this man tripping.
I mumbled something about needing to go and bolted inside, slamming the door behind me.
Okay.
My hands were shaking as I fumbled to lock all 3 locks: the chain, the deadbolt, and the knob. I stood there for a moment, listening to the silence outside, trying to steady my breath. What was happening? Who was this guy? And how did he know where I lived? I always lock my door the same way: chain, deadbolt, then doorknob, because that's the order the locks are in, top to bottom. That night, my hands were shaking as I rushed to lock them all. I got the chain lock secured first, but before I could reach the deadbolt, I felt it.
But what?
A force shoved against the door. My heart dropped into my stomach. Pure panic kicked in as I threw all my weight against the door, pushing back as hard as I could. I'm not exactly small. I figured I could hold my ground, but he pushed harder. I heard the wood creak as the door gave way, opening as far as the chain lock would allow. That's when I saw his face. He leaned into the gap, his expression twisted into something almost manic. He grinned and started spilling out this bizarre, unsettling stream of words. "Oh, I've been waiting so long. You can't lock me out now. Let me come in. Always fighting me, aren't you? Why do you always have to fight me? Let's work this out, Toots. I know you love me. Just show me." My mind was spinning.
You gotta go.
What the hell was he talking about? I didn't know him. I'd never seen him before that candy aisle. And yet, the way he spoke, it was like he believed we had some kind of twisted connection. I did the only thing I could think of. I punched him. My fist collided with his face, and he stumbled back just enough for me to slam the door shut.
Okay.
My hands were trembling as I flipped the deadbolt, locking him out. Looking back now, I know I should have locked the deadbolt first, but panic makes you do things on autopilot.
Yeah.
With my back against the door, I grabbed my phone and called the police. My voice shook as I explained what had happened, but by the time they arrived,
He was
nearly
gone.
an hour later,
Uh,
he was gone.
An hour later.
I
Are
gave
you
them a
serious? Hold on. An hour later. Boy, if that man would have, if he was trying to hold you for real, what even done? Are you serious? An hour later? Oh no, hell police, bro.
description of the guy and repeated everything he'd
That's
said to me.
insane.
They looked concerned,
That's
sure,
insane, bro.
but all they told me was to call them if he came back. There
Man,
wasn't
I might
much
as
they
well
could
do
do
something
otherwise.
myself, bro. Like, cause we
I knew one thing.
go come an hour later.
If it
You
happened
tripping,
again,
bro.
I needed to get his license plate number.
Yes.
When my mom came home, she was just as shaken as I was. That night, we slept downstairs with the phone right by our sides. I barely slept at all. Every creak, every rustle outside made my heart pound like a drum. The next morning, the phone call started. At first, I thought it was just another round of unavailable. But when I checked my voicemail later that day, I felt my stomach turn.
What happened?
There were dozens of messages waiting for me.
Oh, he got your
I
phone
saved
number.
one of the messages, the least vulgar one. The rest were so sick and graphic that I can't even bring myself to repeat them. Hey Toots, the first one began. I miss you. I love you. I really want to know what it feels like inside you.
Yo.
Sweet chocolate baby of mine. I think you're the one for me to enjoy and play for keeps.
Bro,
Or mine to
you don't
keep.
even know her name.
Just love. I hope you don't let another man take what's mine.
It was never yours.
I won't be happy, Toots. You can only have me inside you. Only me and my everything.
See, no, you gotta go, bro. He's talking too crazy. He gotta go, bro.
I'm
What do
tired
you
of fighting.
mean?
Always fighting me. Fighting just makes it
Cause
harder
she don't
on me,
want
Yana.
you. What you mean? Oh,
Just
I'm
pick
tired
up.
of fighting.
Come outside. Just come to me in two ways. You know what I'm saying, Toots? Of course you know. You know me. I listened to the
She don't know
message
you.
with a sinking feeling in my chest, barely able to breathe. His voice was calm, almost sing-songy, like he was talking to someone he loved. But the words, they were wrong, sick. I called the cops again and played the voicemails for them, hoping it would be enough for them to finally do something. But
What'd he
once
do?
again,
Nothing.
they said there wasn't much they could do unless he actually did something physical.
Are you serious?
I felt trapped.
This man is
For the
basically
first time in
sexual
my
harassing
life,
you, bro. What do you mean?
I was truly scared to be alone. The calls kept coming, one after another, every single day. And they didn't stop until Christmas Eve. By that point, I'd been living like a prisoner in my own home. I stopped going outside alone. I didn't even go shopping unless I was with friends. Every sound made me jump, and every time I saw a blue truck drive past, especially at night, my stomach churned. My neighbor a few doors down also drove a blue truck, so I could never be sure if it was him or not. Then, on Christmas Eve, the calls stopped. Just like that. No explanation, no final message, nothing. Part of me felt relief, but another part of me couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. I didn't know if he'd backed off, or if he was still out there, watching. That's where the story ends, for now. I never found out who he was. The police never caught anyone.
Oh,
None of my
cops.
friends confessed to playing a prank, and honestly, I know they wouldn't have let me live in fear for months, just for a joke.
Nah, bro.
I even asked some of the random people who had been to my house parties if they knew anything, but they didn't. To this day, I still wonder who he was,
Some
how he
creepo.
found me, and why me. I'll never know.
That
But the
nigga's
sound of his
creep.
voice on those voicemails, the memory of him pushing against my door, that's something I'll never forget.
Alright, if you enjoy that video, let me know how you feel about the stories. Y'all hold in the comments. That was boy. That last one was something else, boy. Nah, bro. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know how you feel about it. Stay blessed, stay good. Like, comment, subscribe, please, 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 please. Help the kid out, man. Help me out. And that being said, man, hope y'all stay good, bro. I'm out, man. Peace.